Okay, good morning everyone. Everybody's coming through the doors, the virtual doors. Welcome to another social hub session with Sight and Sound Technology and Seascape. Yeah, welcome everyone. We've got 30 plus in the session already. Yeah, for those that have just arrived, welcome. Thank you again for joining us. We've got the two Stuarts on hand. We've got Stuart Beveridge from Seascape, who will be leading the demonstration of the Polaris. We've got Stuart Lawler from Sight and Sound Technology, who will be on hand as well as a Polaris user and trainer. And then there's me in the background, who's managing any questions and queries that you might have. Good. So we'll just give it a couple of minutes before we kick off, because I know that we've had quite a lot of interest in this session. We've had over, well, almost 100 people register, so we'll give it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's really good numbers again.
Very good, very good.
Fantastic. Just going to improve my lighting slightly. So, yeah, we've had a great deal of interest in this session. It's all about the Braille Sense Polaris, which Stuart's going to talk about in a second. We had a fantastic session 2 weeks ago, focusing on accessible mobile phones. We had, again, over 100 people register and about 90 attendees in the end. But it was a brilliant session, lots of great feedback after that. So thank you to everybody who responded to my feedback email. Good. How are you doing, Stuart? Are you about ready to go?
Yep.
Yeah, you're all set. Good. I'll just give it 1 minute, just in case anybody else trickles through the door. Good. Well, I hope everybody's well and surviving. There's light at the end of the tunnel, almost. But no, it's been brilliant to have you all joining us for these regular sessions, and we've all learned something, myself included. So yeah, for those that have just arrived, welcome again to another session. We're going to kick off in about 30 seconds. Just let anybody else come through the door. Lots of familiar names as well on my screen. Welcome back to those that have been joining us regularly, and anybody that's new, welcome to. It's really good to have you. Okay, Stuart, well, if you're happy to, I'll kick things off.
Okie doke.
Fantastic. Okay, well, good morning everyone again. Welcome to another Assistive Technology Social Hub session with Sight and Sound Technology and Seascape Society for the Blind, who are based up in Fife in Scotland. My name's Sam Coulson, so I am the Territory Manager for the north of England and Scotland. And today with us, as we have done for the last few sessions, we've got the two Stuarts, not just the one. We have the two Stuarts. We have Stuart Beveridge, who joins me regularly from Seascape, and we've got Stuart Lawler from Sight and Sound Technology, who runs our Ireland operation over in Dublin. And yeah, we're really happy that you're all here again for another session. So the first part of the session, as you know, will be dominated by the Polaris, the Braille Sense Polaris, which is a really exciting Android Braille note taker, which Stuart Beveridge and Stuart Lawler will take us through. And then the second part of the session, as always, is open. It's an open floor for any questions, queries, observations about the demonstration, but also about any other areas of assistive technology that we can try and help you with. So that's the format. And before I do hand over to Stuart, the two Stuarts, I'll just quickly plug our next session. It's a bit premature, but nice to get in there early. So we've got a really exciting session in 2 weeks' time. So that'll be the 2nd of July. So we're really excited to invite Brian Hartgen from Hartgen Consultancy. So Brian's going to be demonstrating JAWS with dictation software, so Dragon, and another piece of software which sort of combines the two, which makes them talk to each other, which is called JSay. And actually, Brian has spent over 20 years developing the scripting for JAWS and other pieces of software. So he's going to come and talk about all of that, and also about other things that he is doing and working on as well. So that's in 2 weeks' time on the 2nd of July, and I'll send out obviously an email after this session all about that as well. Good. Okay, so that's all that stuff out of the way, and now I can hand over to Stuart, if you want to say a few words, and Stuart Lawler, if you want to introduce yourself as well.
Yeah, hi everybody, good morning. I'm Stuart Lawler from Sight and Sound Technology in Ireland. Dublin is rather foggy and humid this morning, so hope everybody is safe and well. And I'm really just here to support the other Stuart, who's going to talk to us all about Polaris. So over to Stuart B.
So hello everybody, I am Stuart Beveridge. I think everybody is familiar with my dulcet tones by now. Just in case anybody isn't, I work for a very, very small charity up in Scotland called Seascape, and I work as an assistive technology trainer, and I demo and train people on many different products, including the one that I'm going to speak about now, which is the Braille Sense Polaris, which is a very, very powerful, feature-packed, I think is the correct word, note taker. So, Sam, are you happy if I just go on, or? Yeah.
Absolutely. If you want me to show everybody the sort of interface beforehand. Do you want me to do
Yep, and then I'll share my screen as soon as that's done. So Sam will just quickly show you the mini version of the Braille Sense Polaris, if that's all right, Sam.
Yeah, so I'll just swap my camera over. So here we go, guys. So I'm just going to get my coffee out of the way so you don't have to look at that. So there we go. So this is what we're going to be looking at today. We've got the Braille Sense Polaris, but this is the mini version. Okay, so it comes in two forms, which Stuart Beveridge will be talking about. The only difference is, obviously, the mini version has slightly fewer Braille cells, and a couple of the ports are slightly different as well. But this is the interface. So you've got your Braille display along the bottom there. Obviously, your Perkins style keyboard with your function keys. But it's a really streamlined, sort of really sleek looking Android note taker. It's got a camera on the back as well, as does the bigger version. And yeah, it's got obviously all your all the keys there on the underneath there for things like the daisy player and that sort of thing. But yeah, so you've got your Braille display, and I believe it's 18 cells on the mini, is that right, Stuart? And 32 on the larger version.
Is it 32 on the big one and 20 on the small? I might be wrong there.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So yeah, that's the only difference really. So this is what we're going to be looking at today. I just thought it was good for you guys to have a look at the interface before we kick over. So I'll hand back over to you, Stuart Beveridge, if you're happy to.
Yep, and I will just share my screen now, and then we can get on. So let me just going to share the computer audio.
While you're doing that, Stuart, maybe just so everybody, just to sort of reiterate, you know, any questions, you've got lots of options, guys. As you know, I don't want to assume that everybody's been to these sessions before. Anybody that's new, we've got a chat box at the bottom there, which you'll see on the panel. We've got the Q&A section as well. So please do, as Stuart is demonstrating, please do ask any questions, and we'll get to them at an appropriate moment. But yeah, absolutely ask away. That's why we're here. Great. Well, thank you, Stuart.
Speech. Task switching. Connect. To move to an item, press the arrow keys.
So is that as in
Connect.
full view there, Sam? Are we on? Should have that window maximised.
Yes, that's perfect. We can see the we can see your
the content there.
Yep.
So what I'll do, I'm just going to turn off my JAWS speech because I don't want to be distracted by anything in the chat while I'm doing this, if that's okay.
Space. Speech on demand.
And we should be okay because everything's going to come through my Polaris now. So let's get started then. So the Braille Sense Polaris, let's just start with what is it, because I'm sure there'll be people in the room who don't know. So it's a fully functioning Braille note taker. So again, for those who are unfamiliar with a Braille note taker, it basically allows the user to do everyday tasks such as word processing, sending emails, etc. Everything you would, or most things at least, you would do on a normal computer. The Braille note taker allows you to do that, just it's in Braille. But the thing is, it's much more than a typical note-taking device, because the software, its internal software, it actually runs Android version 5.1. So what that means is it's actually used as an Android device as well. So you have the ability to download any accessible app from the Google Play Store. So as you can imagine, the possibilities in a lot of these cases, if you know about accessible apps on Android devices, could be pretty huge. It's pretty endless, isn't it?
Mm.
And again, so as you can imagine, again, it could be used in a lot of different situations. It could be used in your personal life, you know, for hobbies, etc. Could be used in education. I think schools are starting to use them a bit more, as well as colleges, but Stuart Lawler, once we're finished, can maybe elaborate on that if we've any questions. And to some extent, it can be used in the workplace as well. And that's where I use it. And the reasons are, for me at least, is because it's lightweight, it's portable. It's probably the most lightweight and portable note taker I've used, actually. And the main reason I use it is because when writing and reading Braille, it's almost completely silent. So I use it for taking notes in Braille when I'm in meetings in particular, but I also use it for actually taking quick audio notes as well. And that's because it has a built-in voice recorder. So that's where I really use it and find it very, very beneficial to me. It's more of a work device for me, but everybody's different. So anyway, moving on. Sam's already given a quick physical description. I'll just very, very quickly go through where you would find some of the buttons. So just generally, on the front of the device is your power button, and you have media buttons for, as Sam said, you know, controlling DAISY audio. And what's also good is you have a locking switch. So that allows you to actually lock all the keys down, so that if you were to press a key accidentally, then nothing's going to happen if you have the lock in place. So that's a really good feature as well. I like the key lock. On the top of the display are obviously the Braille keys. There are also specific scrolling keys for navigating the device, and I will come back to that just when we start the official demo, if you like. And there are also, on mine at least, there is, because I'm using the large 132 Braille display cells, and there is a cursor routing key above each cell, and that's very, very important, especially when you're maybe word processing and you need to get to a particular area of the document quickly. The cursor routing keys are a huge bonus. And on the sides, there are USB and HDMI ports, and there are also a headphone jack, and there is, I believe, a microphone jack there as well if you actually wanted to plug an external microphone in for better recording purposes. And just before we get to the demo, it has, this probably goes without saying, but it does have Bluetooth. So I actually use this occasionally to connect to my iPhone XS, and I can then control the iPhone through the Polaris. So it kind of works as a Braille display for the iPhone, and I'm sure it'll work with Android as well. And it has Wi-Fi, obviously, and it has, I think it's 64 gigabytes internal storage in there as well. But just be aware that obviously you can add external drives in there, as I said, such as USB and SD. So let's get to the good bit. Let's get to the actual demo. So what I'm going to do is I have the Polaris set for the sound to come through the screen. And what I thought I would do is I would just show you I would just go through the menus, because the device has so much features in it. All I can really do, I think, with the time I've got is give you an overview, because I want to give people a lot of time to discuss different Braille devices and ask your questions as well. And if we do have time, oh, excuse me.
File Manager, F.
So if we do have time, I will possibly show you how I've downloaded the Audible app and playing an audiobook, because it's really quite cool. That's another good feature of the Polaris, obviously, the downloading of apps. So let's start with the main menu. Now, Sam, can you just, if I'm talking over the sound, could you just give me a wee shout? Because that happened before when I was doing a demo on JAWS. It's a Zoom issue, I think. So just give me a shout if anything happens here. But on the main menu, at the top, we have, the first item you would find is
File Manager.
So the File
F.
Manager is probably quite self-explanatory. It's where all your files and folders are stored. But also in there is, I can't demo it because we don't use it at work, but for education purposes, I think in particular, there is Google Drive in the File Manager as well. So if anybody has any questions on that, we can answer them after my demo. So there's File Manager. And let me just do that again. Let me just go to the File Manager again to let you hear something here.
File Manager,
Now, did you
F.
hear it there saying File Manager F? So F is what I call an access key. So what it's telling me there is you're on the File Manager, and if I wanted to jump to that quickly from anywhere in the main menu, I would just press the letter F, and it would actually take me straight into the File Manager. Let me just demonstrate again by scrolling down using one of the navigation scroll keys.
Word Processor, W.
So Word Processor, W. And obviously, again, if I was to press the letter W from anywhere in that main menu, I would just jump straight to the word processor. So make use of the access key is a tip I always give people when I'm training them on these kind of note takers. So again, the word processor is probably self-explanatory. It's just where you would you type on that's where I type on my major documents, and then, you know, or I could read Braille files in there, etc. It does PDF. It's really, really powerful, the word processing feature. If I move down again, and this is why I'm explaining these, if I move down,
Notepad,
now
N.
Notepad, you would think that would be a word processor as well, and I don't really use the Notepad as a word processor. The way I use the Notepad is to actually just take extremely quick notes and then just save them as TXT files. That's really all that's designed to do. So again, if I'm in meetings or I'm on a phone call, for example, and I need to take a quick phone number, I just jump straight to Notepad with the access key, type in the person's name and phone number, and then I'm good to go. That's a nice little note saved there. So Notepad is, again, really, really useful. Not as much as the word processor, but I like having it there. So email, again, self-explanatory. Let's go through some of these features now more quickly.
Exchange email.
That's for Microsoft Exchange, obviously. And again, I use that for work purposes. The email, which was above that, is more where you would be using a Gmail account, for example. Media. Let's quickly jump into the media with pressing enter, because there are a few features in here.
Media
so
player.
You're in a sub-menu and you have a media player, which obviously you could use for playing your audiobooks and music, etc.
FM radio.
FM radio. So again, it's only FM. It doesn't have AM, but you could have access to the FM radio if you like, and access all your FM channels there.
Daisy player.
Your Daisy player is there as well. And again, there are, as you're hearing hopefully there, and I'm not talking over it too much, there are access keys for all of these. So once you get the hang of navigating the menus, you can really, hopefully you can see how quick you can move around this device.
Daisy player.
Saying, Daisy player, again, when I hear it repeating itself, I know fine, yeah, I've went through all the items in that menu and I can press the escape shortcut key.
Media.
And that's me back to the main menu. So let's keep going down through the features in the main menu.
Stuart, can I just
organizer.
Just quickly pause there? I had a couple of people ask if you can see the device. Obviously, the physical device as well as obviously the screen share. So what I've done, everyone, is I've actually spotlit my camera so you can physically see the device. But what Stuart Beveridge isn't able to do is show the physical device as well as the screen share. So yeah, unfortunately, this is the best way around that. So what I've done is I've spotlit my camera so you can see the device while Stuart's demonstrating the actual internal. So what he's done is he's connected his device, haven't you, Stuart, via HDMI to your computer, haven't you?
Yeah, it's having I'd have to sit and try and hold it up all the time to the video, and not having any sight anyway. It's caused problems in the past, so I just decided not to do it.
Yeah,
but hopefully it's
to screen share the actual inner workings, as rather than focus on the physical display. So you've got the best of both worlds, and you can actually, there's a little tab in the middle of your screen where you can enlarge or sort of shrink each window. So you've got my spotlit video on the right, and then you should have the screen share on the left, and you can make each one bigger or smaller. But yeah, apologies, that's sort of the best way around it, unfortunately. Thank you, Stuart. Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, no problem at all. Is it going okay? Am I coming through okay, and I'm not talking over?
No, all good. Yeah, we're getting you loud and clear, and the speech on the Polaris is loud and clear as well. So
yeah. Cool. Okay, doke. So I'll just keep going on through the features we were at. Where were we?
Media. Organizer.
Oh, yes, organizer. And again, this is a feature I like, the organizer, because it's unlike some other note takers I've used over the years. The organizer, it's kind of a huge beast, if you like. Everything's all built in together. So, you've got the address book and the diary and everything, that they're all mashed in together. And I wasn't that keen. I just found it all a bit too much. So, but with the Polaris, if you go into the organizer with enter.
Address manager,
There's actually a separate address manager for putting your contacts, all your contacts in there, and also
schedule manager,
See how that's split? So again, you've actually got, they're actually split into different sections. You've got the actual address manager, and then you actually have an actual appointment diary in there as well. So that
schedule manager,
that's the two things in the organizer. I will come back out.
Organizer, O. Web tools, B.
And web tools, again, it's I suppose, self-explanatory. I'll just go in just to give you an absolutely clear idea of what's in here.
Web browser, B.
So the web browser is your fully fledged, web browser. That is your full internet portal. But you also, for quickness, have
Google search, G.
So if I didn't want to go into, if I didn't know the address I wanted to type in, etc., I could actually use a Google search, and then the results are displayed immediately in a vertical list. That's really cool. I use that feature a lot, the Google search. I actually use it more than I use the actual fully functioning web browser, to be honest with you. I just find it makes me that wee bit more productive in some cases. So let's come out of there.
Web tools, B.
Oh, a wee bit of a glitch there. I hope it's okay.
Extras, X.
So extras, this is more kind of just extra features in the device. So you've got
Excel viewer, X.
Excel viewer. We could come back to that if there's questions on it.
Online Daisy, O.
You've got Online Daisy.
Sense Dictionary, D.
And Sense Dictionary. So again, these are all kind of just add-on features that we can come back to.
Extras, X.
Back in the main menu.
Utilities, U.
Utilities, I don't really go in there too much. The only thing I go into utilities for is there is a terminal for screen reader in there. And what that does is, that is where then I could connect my iPhone up through Bluetooth and use my Braille Sense Polaris to actually control my iPhone and read text messages, etc. So I haven't done that today because we might very well do a future webinar on connecting iPhones with Braille displays if people are interested. That was one of my ideas for the future.
Settings, S.
Settings, there are so many settings. I would actually have to spend a whole webinar taking you through everything. There are a myriad of settings, both for the Braille Sense itself and for Android purposes. So I actually use the Android settings in there to connect up my sound up to the screen. So it's huge. There is a number of different settings in there. And finally,
Help, H.
well, not finally, but there's a full user manual in there for help. I'll come back to that.
Play Store, P.
The Play Store is where, once you get the hang of it, you can actually, and you know the apps you want to download, you can then actually go into the Play Store and download apps.
All apps, A.
And all apps is where your apps, when you download them from the Play Store, that's where they will be. So if I quickly go in here.
Audible.
So there was a wee bit of a glitch there. Let me
Calendar. Audible.
Audible. So Audible is the first app in there, and that's actually one that I downloaded from the Play Store earlier. And if there is time, I'll treat you to let you hear The Hobbit being played on Audible if there's a bit of time, and show you how cool the Audible feature is.
All apps, A.
That's really the main menu dealt with. I just wanted to show you some other quick things in here if we have time, and then I'm going to stop and take some questions. So let me just check my time. Yeah, we're okay. So
File
if I
Manager,
go back to the main menu, we're back at the top and we're at the File Manager. Now remember, when we were going through, there was one of the things was Word Processor, and the access key for Word Processor was W. So if I press W quickly from the main menu.
Top of document.
And we've went straight into the Word Processor. Now I think that's really quite cool. Now, remember I was telling you earlier that on the top of the device, there are many different navigation keys. So I've been using the scrolling keys, and you've got two scrolling keys on each side of the device, an up and down scrolling key on the right and left side of the device. I use them a lot. But there are also 4 function keys, which are specifically designed for different tasks depending on which application you are in. And this is where you can see the power of this device, hopefully. So I'm in the Word Processor at the moment, and the function keys, by the way, are F1, F2, F3, and F4. And if I press the F1 key, now I'm in the word processor, if I want to get quickly back to the main menu, but leave the word processing app running, I just press the F1 key.
File Manager.
See, then I'm back in the main menu and I can go up and down the items.
Word processor.
But
File Manager.
hang on, I'm just going to make him be quiet. But the word processor is still running in the background. So it's almost like you would have it like an app switcher, you know, on your iPhone or your Android devices. And if I press the F2 and the F3 keys quickly, I can actually jump together. Sorry, if I press the F2 and F3 keys together.
Task name settings.
Oh, and sorry.
Button navigate up, enter key to select.
So I forgot I'd left settings open, so I've got settings open as well. See how I'm just going to jump through the different apps?
Task name, word processor.
So there's me in the word, and I'm
blank.
right back to the word processor. So F2 and F3 quickly together will let you jump through different applications. So you can have as many applications open as you want. You could have your internet open, your email, just depending on, you know, what you're doing basically. So that's the F1 key. Now, the F2 key is very application specific because it takes you into a kind of context menu for the application you are actually in at the time. So it's very application specific, this, but I can tell you now it is invaluable because this device has shortcuts galore. I think I said that earlier. There are shortcuts for everything and I cannot remember them all. You know, I use so many different Braille devices and the menu are specifically for this. And the F2 key, if I press it,
File F,
so
pull down menu.
And sorry, I was talking over it there maybe, but it said File F and then pull down menu. So I know that if I press enter on the file menu, then I'll open up all the commands related to, you know, saving your document, printing, etc. And let me show you this. So if I press enter on the file menu.
New N dialog, enter N menu item.
Now there's a lot to take in there. So new N, enter with N. So what that's telling you is you're on the new control, which allows you to create a brand new document. Then it says N. So again, if I was somewhere in this file menu, I could press the access key N to get there. Or if I was in the word processing document and I didn't want to go into the menus, I can press enter with N as a shortcut to do it quickly. So hopefully that makes sense, but that does show you if you memorize the keys that you want to work with the most, you know, use your most useful shortcut keys, maybe note them down, and I promise you, you will be very productive as a result, far more productive. So if I keep going down.
Open, O, dialog, enter O menu item. Save, S, dialog, enter S menu item.
So hopefully that's coming through as, and you're seeing how really helpful that is. So if I wanted to save this document I was in, I've got this key memorized, it's enter with S, and then that would open up the save as dialog box. So let me just show you that. The F4 key, by the way, is an escape key, one of the function keys on the top.
File, F,
and I've
pull
pressed
down
that
menu,
twice,
cancel.
and it's backed me straight
blank.
out and back into the main part of the word processing document. So if I was to press enter with S, that was the save command, wasn't it? So let's press enter with S.
File save dialog. File name, no name.docs, edit combo box.
So it's telling me I've no name at the moment, but you see how I've just jumped straight into a save as dialog box. Now, what I like about this is if you are a Windows user, then you've more chance of getting familiar with the device a bit more quickly because a lot of these dialog boxes have a Windows feel to them. And the F3 is wonderful for this because the F3 actually acts as a tab key. So if you're familiar with a Windows dialog box, you're on the file name. If I tab once with the F3,
confirm button.
There's your confirm button. If I tab again,
cancel button.
cancel button.
Podcast folder 1 list item.
Sorry, talking over the top again, and that's where all my folders are. So if I did want to save in a particular folder, then I would just use the F3 to tab through the dialog box till I got to that folder, and then use, you know, traditional browsing commands, if you like, to browse my folders and save it. Now, if you want to go back, you could use space F3 as a shift tab sort of function.
Cancel button.
So I'm going back through.
Confirm button. File name.
And I'm back
No
to the
name.
file name.
Docs edit combo box.
So I'm going to come out.
Blank.
And then I'm going to, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to stop, because I think I might have covered a lot there, and I just want to see if there's any questions, because I'm conscious that time is running on. So I'm going to pass back to the guys at Sight and Sound and see where we are. Oh, Sam, are we on?
Okay, we got Sam there, I think.
Apologies, I was muted.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Speech as well.
Name.
Oh,
Doc
hang on,
save.
sorry.
Yes prompt
Let me just,
button.
sorry, just let me get this thing to be clear.
List SEE LT 001. Connected enter key. Task
There we go.
name. Settings. Cap button navigate up enter key to
Shush.
select.
There we go. All right. Thank you, Stuart. That's great. Yeah, we got a couple of questions queued up. Peter has asked if there is a newer version of Android planned. We're on
Okay.
5.1, aren't we? The Lollipop at the moment.
Yeah, we're on 5.1. As far as I'm aware, Stuart's the oracle on this, the other Stuart, but if I just kind of, it's been on Android 5.1 since it was released. And the firmware updates have been more from the Braille Sense Polaris end. All I can say is I don't think there's anything planned going forward, but I can tell you that I get asked this question a lot because people worry about if they're downloading apps, they think the apps might not be compatible, you know, because the Android versions have moved on so much. All I can say as a user, there's not actually been any apps I've downloaded that haven't been compatible with the device.
SMS is no longer supported.
Sorry,
to read and send
this thing
SMS
clear.
messages.
Yeah, excuse me, my Polaris is getting overexcited. So any app I've downloaded, so Audible, for example, the Easy Reader, anything like that for audiobooks and things like that is working fine at the moment. So the version doesn't really matter at the moment. But Stuart, I don't know if you want to come in there with anything.
Well, yeah, just to kind of say exactly as you said, you know, at present applications do work. Saying that, obviously we've been flagging with HIMS who make the product, and indeed other people have as well, that obviously Android is progressing. And yes, some newer applications, their compatibility with older operating systems can be questionable. So I think HIMS are aware of that. I think you will see something next year, later next year, but it will not be the existing hardware. So it'll probably be a new device.
Great. So yeah, thank you guys. Hopefully that answers your questions. We've also got Andy, who's asked, he said, apologies if he's jumping ahead a little bit, but in terms of the Braille, is it just grade 1 or grade 2, or can you have a mixture of those, you know, for students who are possibly partway through their Braille learning journey?
Let me show you this then, because I'm sure I'm still connected.
Yeah, you just need to reconnect your screen.
Oh, you know what is my Polaris is.
Yeah, and while you're doing that, Stuart, just we've had a few questions about people asking about you know, the function keys, and you know, is Stuart using an external QWERTY keyboard alongside it? I do apologise if there's been any confusion. So there is no, you know, external keyboard needed in order to use the Polaris. If anybody can see my spotlit video here, I've got the Polaris Mini in front of me. So the function keys are along here, just above the Braille display. And obviously you've got your 8 key Perkins keyboard there. But yeah, any of the function keys are used here. Yeah, and then obviously you've got your space bar, and obviously you can input your Braille with these keys here. There is on the larger Polaris, there is a USB port, so you can, if you want to, connect a QWERTY keyboard. For instance, if a teacher or a sighted student wanted to interact or wanted to help.
SEE LT
Sorry.
001. Connected, enter key to select.
Sorry, guys.
Don't worry. Yeah, so you can connect a QWERTY keyboard, if you needed to, for whatever reason. But no, all the function keys are placed on the Polaris just here. So yeah, apologies if there was any confusion with that. Thanks, Stuart.
Yeah. There are also, as well as that, for things like cut, copy and paste, there are actually dedicated Control and Alt keys as well. It's like you can do there's like 3 or 4 different ways of doing things on it in a lot of cases there. So I kind of just stick to the one method. I try and use the function keys as much as I can, because they are quite tactile, and they're literally found just under the Braille keys. So for easy navigation, as I say, you can really be very productive once you get the hang of the device. And I think it's quite easy to learn. I think the menus system in particular for actually helping you with the shortcuts is really good as well. Was it Andy who had a question on the grades of Braille?
That's right, yeah.
So
S.
you can toggle
File Manager F.
You can toggle between 3 different grades. So this is actually suited for maybe not any Braille user, but regardless of your level, then you can toggle through the different grades of Braille to suit your particular need. So if I press space with G,
Computer Braille.
Computer Braille.
File Manager
If
F.
I press space with G again,
Uncontracted Braille.
so there's
File
uncontracted
Manager
Braille,
F.
and then I'm just going to talk over the top of it. And then if I press it one more time, I'll toggle to the grade of Braille I use most frequently.
Contracted Braille. File Manager
So
F.
there you go. There are the 3 grades of Braille that you can easily switch between. So hope that's answered your question there, Andy.
Yeah, thank you, Stuart. That's great. And a couple more. We've got Brenda has asked about Brenda's asked, can the Polaris be linked to Microsoft Office Suite?
Not that I'm aware of. I might need you for this one, Stuart, if...
Apologies, guys. Apologies, I was muted for a moment. Can it be connected? So you can run the Android versions of Office 365, for example, Word and Outlook. I don't really recommend doing it, and I say that because the Android applications for things like word processing, for example, your productivity will not be as good as it would be with the built-in word processor. So you can use the built-in word processor. You can connect to something like OneDrive. Office 365 email is supported. So I guess combining the tools of Polaris and the tools of Microsoft Office, you can absolutely do that.
Great. Thanks, Stuart Beveridge. Stuart Lawler, thank you. And Peter, who asked about the Android version 5, has also asked about security updates.
So maybe I'll try and answer that and say that when Polaris release updates for the device, whilst they're not Android updates in the OS, they will plug any security issues that are identified. But the Android OS outside of the applications that you get from the Play Store is not being updated. So I suppose, for example, probably a good example of that would be if you want to do web browsing on the Polaris, I would strongly say you should probably download Chrome or rather use Chrome that comes as part of the Polaris and not the Polaris browser. And that's for two reasons. Firstly, the Polaris browser is not really designed for heavy duty web browsing. But secondly, from a security aspect, you're going to get better performance from Chrome.
Great.
Yeah, and that's why I was saying, that's why I use the Google search more. I just feel it's a wee bit more productive and straightforward than trying to use the built-in web browser there and the Polaris. So
yeah.
All right, thank you guys. A couple more, if you're happy to, Stuart, or would you like to sort of carry on and we can come back to the rest of the questions?
No, I'm any questions I'm happy to answer. Just
yeah, all right. Well, we'll finish these couple of questions, then we can just carry on. So Manisha has asked, does the inbuilt word processor have spell checker and formatting, etc.?
Yes, it does. Yeah,
Good.
and you could find them in the menus, or you could obviously do shortcuts to get there as well. And I think that the spell checker, I think I'm correct me if I'm wrong, the other Stuart, but it's kind of reminds me a wee bit of the Windows feel again.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And can I just add one point to that question, Sam? Just for UEB Braillists in particular, one thing we can't do on Polaris at the moment, but it is being worked on, is to represent font changes in Braille. So, for example, change of characteristic like bold or different font formatting, which will be reflected in speech, but is not currently reflected in Braille. And just the other thing I'd say about word processing in general is that just remember this is a note taker. So it's designed to be something that you use to, of course, to do your word processing, to create your documents and write them. But if you want to do heavy duty formatting and editing and prepare something for presentation, maybe to, let's say, the sighted world, I'd be inclined to take my document from Polaris and put it into Microsoft Word. I don't know, Stuart, if you've done that. But
Absolutely, definitely. Yeah. Yeah, it's great to get the note, because I consider myself a very good brailleist, because I've been doing it for well over 25 years, shall we say, then almost 30 years actually. I do all my typing on the note takers because I'm faster. And then once I do my typing on the Polaris at a meeting or anything like that, I will then maybe put it on a memory stick, or I'll email it to my work, etc. And then I can just, get the attachment and and format it if required that way. So it can be done.
Great. Thank you, guys. And then Andy's asked again, I assume you can download apps such as Blitz TeamViewer, so that someone working with, someone who has the device can view the screen at the same time as they...
I can just refer to this as well, Sam, if that's okay. So yes, in a school situation, this is a big one. So TeamViewer, yes. Bliss, unfortunately not. And we have flagged Bliss with them. Bliss is a good example, or Blizz, I think, sorry, is the word. So Blizz, just for anyone who doesn't know, is another app made by TeamViewer, which schools, certainly here in Ireland, and I'm assuming in the UK as well, are really liking. It is an app that is compatible with later versions of Android. So we have been unsuccessful in getting it to work on Polaris, but fear not, because you can use TeamViewer Quick Support to mirror the screen of the Polaris wirelessly to another computer using TeamViewer, and we've run that solution very successfully for people. The other solution that Stuart B is using today actually is something called screencasting. Now that will only work with a computer in the same room. The nice thing about TeamViewer is you could literally be supporting somebody, maybe a student who's working from home. So you might have a student at the moment because of COVID who's not able to go into school, but a teacher could connect to TeamViewer. And whilst you couldn't control their Polaris, you could visually view what they're doing and maybe be talking to them over Zoom or something else. So it's all possible with the right combination of tweaks.
Great. Thanks, Stuart. And that this next question actually might be a good opportunity for you, Stuart Lawler, to talk about, because I know that the Polaris is used heavily in schools and education over in Ireland. So Carol's asked, how does the Polaris cope with math Braille?
Great question. I will straight away get the what's the word? Anyway, sorry, I can't think of the word. UEB math is implemented, but is still to some degree a work in progress, and that's because most of the development of Polaris is done in Korea and in the US, and they're not using UEB math. So any feedback around UEB math has actually been given by us and the UK and Australia, and they've been tweaking that. There is a math mode in the word processor, so you can use math in the word processor, UEB math code. You'll get the correct symbols, and you can switch between math mode and text entry mode. And it's also fully supported in the calculator as well. There's also a Polaris math program to allow you to create graphs. So you can actually input coordinates, and then you can have that graph printed out on a Braille printer. So there's lots of things happening with maths and Polaris. It's an ongoing project, and we always say to teachers, if you find something that doesn't work, let us know, because we're always feeding it back.
Brilliant. Yeah, thanks Stuart. I think sorry, go on. Yeah.
I was just about to say, on that note, I'm going to have to leave because I have to go to another session about Polaris, actually.
Stuart Lawler.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Stuart, for helping me out today. It's been
You're
great.
very welcome, Stuart, and welcome everybody, and good to see everyone, and hope everybody stays safe.
All right. Thanks.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Yeah.
Bye.
Yeah, Stuart Lawler's he's in demand. He's running a lot of sessions at the moment. So he's off to another Polaris session. But just to add to what Stuart was talking about, the how the Polaris is used within schools. I think it's really important to understand as well how accessible the Polaris is for sighted teachers and for support workers, etc. It's easily connectable to a monitor. So, for instance, when I'm demonstrating the Polaris for a blind person, obviously as a sighted person, my Braille skills are minimal. So I will connect the Polaris to a HDMI monitor when I'm demonstrating it. So the teacher can connect just by a HDMI cable. With the bigger Polaris, it's a regular HDMI connection. With the mini Polaris here on my screen, it's a mini HDMI connection. And you can also, as I said, you can connect a keyboard, and you can even connect a mouse. So I can just pop my USB receiver into the USB port on the Polaris, and I can use my QWERTY keyboard and mouse and see the Polaris menus on my screen as well. And for those of you that are sighted, you'll see on the bottom of Stuart's screen share, you can still see the Braille display, the digital Braille display on the bottom of the screen. So it's just important to note how accessible it is for sighted teachers as well, in order to support the student, or employee or whoever it might be. Yes. So good. So we've I hope that's answered your question, Carol. Manisha has asked again. She's asked, thanks. So can you save a Word doc and then open on a PC for printing and formatting, etc., just in case? I'll let you answer that one, Stuart.
Yeah. So let me just quickly, let's see if, because it might not have came through clearly when I was demonstrating the save feature. Let me just pop back into Word processor.
While you're doing that, Stuart,
Top of document.
it's also worth mentioning, Manisha and everybody else, you can emboss directly from the Polaris as well. You can, for instance, I have an Index DB, Index Basic D5 embosser, and I can either plug in the USB to my Polaris and emboss directly to the Index, or I can emboss wirelessly from the Polaris to the Index as well. So again, it's very, very quick and accessible embossing as well. Yeah, so just to add that. But yeah, carry on, Stuart.
Yeah, and you could print files as well, I would think, directly from it. Could you, Sam, just hook it up to a printer? The reason I was doing, just to show you, if I do the save as with space with S, let me just see if that's got.
File save dialog. File name, no name
So
dot
do you
docs
hear it
edit
there saying,
combo
I mean, it's
box.
no name, but did you hear it there saying .docs? It should be docx, obviously. But so there, right away, as soon as I was to type a file name and save that to a folder, it's ready to be printed or transferred to a USB stick and put into a computer, or as I said earlier, you could email it and attach that file directly from the Braille Sense, and it'll go to, say, it was a sighted person, because it's saved in that docx format, or you could do it in, I dare say, a RTF format, whichever you prefer. Then the hard work's done. It's just a case of you finding the correct way to, get the document printed in whatever your preferred fashion is. Is that fair, Sam, would you say?
Yeah, absolutely. No, I think that's that's a really good sort of,
Yeah, I think it was just to show that, I mean, it does all the hard work for you, really, doesn't it, there? So
definitely. And we've got an anonymous attendee has asked if,
Blank.
so does the sighted teacher see print because the Braille is transcribed? So
yes, they do, I would think, Sam, don't they?
Yeah.
So yeah, so if you've got it connected up to a monitor, you're working in Braille, but the teacher's actually seeing your work in traditional text, if that's the right way to put it. Yeah.
If you can just go back to the main menu there, Stuart, on the
give me a sec. There you are.
yeah, of course. So obviously
File manager, F.
the sighted teacher will be seeing everything there in print. Then you've got the digital Braille display on the bottom of the screen there as well. And then obviously, if Stuart was to start typing in a Word document as well, we would see that in print, as well as seeing the Braille on the bottom of the screen.
Word processor.
Yeah, thanks.
Blank.
Thanks.
So I'm just doing a wee test here, Sam.
Yeah, there you go.
TH. This is
and I've made a mistake. Come on. Typing is atrocious.
And
you know what it is? It's doing funny things because I don't think I'm in. I think I'm in the wrong grade of Braille, actually. No, I've got
document period.
You're in grade 1.
So, yeah, I think I might be actually. Yeah.
No, but still, it's just an example of what we can see, what the sighted teacher can see, while the student.
Contracted but basically, what I was typing there is this is a test document, and it was speaking. It was speaking the words out to me, and I was receiving them in Braille as well. And I could, of course, put my voice off with backspace and F2.
Yeah.
And then I could
voice off
again keep typing.
Yeah.
And it should be coming up. So I'm just writing, thank you for taking part in this webinar.
Great. Yeah, there you go. Perfect.
My speech back on.
Good example of what you can see there.
Voice on. Taking part in voice on.
Yeah, so I hope that answers your question. And then we've got Susan, thanks. I thought so about Braille being transcribed. I just wanted to check. Is this true for maths as well?
I think it should be, but just remember, again, this isn't my strong point, to be honest with you. Stuart uses this, the other Stuart who's gone, unfortunately, uses this every day. I think it's true that it can be done, but just remember, as Stuart, rightly said, that the math side is a work in progress. So I think because it's getting developed, in other countries, you might, if you're using UEB, you might get some funny results. I think I'm quite happy to say you might get some funny results at the moment.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's it's good to be sort of realistic about its possibilities. But again, it's being developed But yes, in answer to your question, Susan, yes, so the maths will be transcribed or into print as well for the sighted teacher. And it's just, again, to sort of add to this, is that, you know, because it's an Android device, essentially it's an Android tablet. Okay, so it's an Android, fully functioning Android portable tablet. So you've got access to the Play Store, as Stuart's already said. You know, you can download, you know, any Android-based app that you can think of. You know, so the possibilities are really endless with this device. Good.
If we've still got attendees, Sam, if people are still hanging around, I could try and demonstrate the Audible app that I've downloaded just to show. I don't know if anybody would be interested, just to hear a book through it.
Go for it. No, we've still got time.
Yeah. So let me get my voice on.
Voice on.
So we're in the
File manager.
and there's a reason I wanted to show you the Audible app in particular. So I'm praying now that I've talked this up at work. So let's take your life in our hands. So I'm going to quickly, from the main menu, jump to the App Store by pressing A, which is its shortcut. And you hear it there saying Audible. So all the apps are in alphabetical order. If I wanted to jump to YouTube, I could press Y. So you have just jumped. So first letter navigation is a really cool feature when you start getting into the world of downloading apps and using third-party apps, shall we say, apps that are not native to the Braille Sense Polaris. So let me jump back to Audible with A.
App Manager.
We're on App Manager. So I just pressed A again, and then we're at Audible. So if I press Enter, and you're going to see a list of all my books possibly here. But,
Home. Button open left navigation panel, enter key to select.
App now, and one of the books I downloaded and I'm ready to play is The Hobbit by J.R.R. Tolkien. Now, that could be anywhere on this app, and you know you would maybe have to keep pressing the F3 key, which is the tab key, repeatedly until you got there if you were unfamiliar with the app. However, I know that The Hobbit is somewhere on the screen. The book is somewhere, so I'm going to press the letter T, and because the first letter navigation works in these apps, I should be able to get straight to The Hobbit.
The Hobbit by J.R.R. Tolkien. 11 hours 2 minutes left. The Black House by Peter May.
Yes, I'm just
Harry
going to make
Potter
quiet.
and the Goblet
Hobbit,
of Fire.
it's being a,
Book 4 by J.K. Rowling.
Sorry, let me
Harry Potter and the Button 2 for 1 sale. Choose from over 3 button open left
having a bit
navigation
of a here at the moment.
The Hobbit by J.R.R. Tolkien. 11 hours 2 voice off. Voice on.
There we go. So we've got The Hobbit, and all I did to get there was press the letter T once, and it jumped me straight to The
navigation
Hobbit. So if I press Enter,
The Hobbit by J.R.R. Tolkien. 11 hours 2 minutes left. The Black House by Peter May.
Sorry,
Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. Book 4 by J.K. Rowling.
I'm going to have to stop at the minute.
Harry
Sorry, guys,
Potter
it's
and the
really. I don't know if it's something to do with the screen.
Book 1 by J.K. Rowling.
The screen part, the screen share, but it's just really crap. It's never done that before. Technology, isn't it?
No problem. But that just gives us an idea, doesn't it, of how accessible the audio books.
All apps.
Oh, stop it.
Off.
No, that's great. Thank you, Stuart. And Manisha's asked, most importantly, the cost. Of course, this is, you know, it's always important to discuss the price. Actually, the Braille Sense Polaris, the 32 cell version, which Stuart is demonstrating for us today, is actually discounted at the moment. So at the moment, it's £3,228. That's excluding VAT. Okay, but just to give you an idea of its usual price, it's discounted at the moment until the end of this month. But its regular price, is 4395, excluding VAT. Okay, so so it is quite heavily discounted at the moment. And the mini, which is this version I've got here, the 20 cell, is regular price is 3295 ex VAT. Okay, so just to go over those again. 32 cell at the moment, discounted price is 3228. Okay, but that will then go up to 4395 once the promotion is finished. And the mini is 3295. That's its regular price, all ex VAT. So absolutely, this is like the high end, sort of, in terms of assistive technology goes. This is, they're very advanced pieces of technology. And the price.
Sorry guys, it's playing an audio. It started playing an audio book there. Sorry. Stop. Well, at least you know it works. I might have to just stop my screen share, guys, because I'm having serious difficulties here.
There we go. We got there in the end.
Well, at least you know it works.
We do. Thanks, Stuart. No, it's good. So that's pricing for you. Obviously, if anybody has any other queries around pricing and all of that, then please do get in touch, and I'd be happy to discuss anything with you. We're about coming towards the end of our session, guys. We've got a few comments coming in. Thank you from Manisha. You're welcome. Thank you for your questions. And funnily enough, right at the end of the session, this has come up. I expected it to at some point. Manisha's also mentioned the Braille Note Touch, which is, if you like, its rival product, so its rival device by Humanware. Many people will be aware of the Braille Note Touch. I'll let you take this one, Stuart. So do you think it's very similar to the Braille Note Touch, or what are its differences, similarities?
So, the Braille Note Touch, the main difference with the Braille Note Touch to the Polaris, I see, is because the Braille Note Touch has an actual inbuilt touch screen. So the Polaris does, I think I'm right in saying, Sam, it does have a tiny LCD screen on the top, doesn't it? The Polaris, does it?
The Polaris does. Yeah, it has the Polaris 32, not the Mini. The Polaris
not the Mini. Yeah,
has a sort of mini digital display around this area, which just gives you sighted menus. So you can see that.
It does. Yeah. There's not that much difference. The Braille Note Touch, obviously, it has a full-blown touch screen, and the Braille Note Touch, what you can do is you can do touch Braille for completely silent typing, so you can Braille on the glass. Once you place your fingers correctly, you can actually Braille on the glass on the screen. You don't actually have to use an actual tactile Braille keyboard, if you like. The Braille Note Touch, I had one when I first came out, and it was running Android 4.2 when it was just the Braille Note Touch, and I very, very quickly realised that the device was not going to last very long because it just wasn't powerful enough, and the version of Android it was running was quite frankly appalling. But they have since went onto the Braille Note Touch Plus, and where the Braille Sense Polaris at the moment is running 5.1, that's going to change next year when a new device comes out, I think. The Braille Note Touch Plus is running Android 8, and the speed is improved greatly on the Braille Note Touch Plus. From the demo I've had, it's the speed that's the key thing for me on the Braille Note Touch Plus. Very, very powerful machine. That being said, I've yet to find, unless it's a very, very new app, again, what I was playing with on the Braille Note Touch Plus when I had the demo, you can actually do on the Braille Sense Polaris anyway. unless it's maybe a newer app. So to hopefully answering the question, that there's not much difference. I think it's just more maybe the Braille Note Touch Plus at the moment is a wee bit faster, and it's got the full-blown touch screen, which means you don't really have to connect it to a monitor. You know, teachers can just see things on the go. But apart from that, and I think the Polaris, what I use the Polaris for more, as I say, is because it seems to be much better at reading PDF files, for example. That seems to be a much better option for me when reading PDFs than it was with the Braille Note Touch. But again, that's maybe just a personal thing. So hopefully that's answered your question a wee bit, and that's all I can really say on it, I think.
No, that's great. Thanks, Stuart. No, I think that's a good sort of, you know, brief sort of comparison of the two. Obviously, Braille Note is running a newer version of Android, so obviously its processing speed is a lot faster. But you know, and obviously we're biased as a company. We do you know, we do heavily promote the Polaris, obviously. But from our experience and our experience of working with you know, schools and, you know, but also people in the workplace, is that the Polaris, from our experience, is a much more reliable product. You know, they both have their strengths and weaknesses, but generally, the Polaris, you know, tends to have less sort of technical problems going forward than the Braille Note does. The support for the Braille Note, I know, is it's a lot sort of a lot heavier than the Polaris. However, you know, it's horses for courses. Again, we say this every week, but it's Apple, it's Android, it's Windows, it's Mac. It's everybody's personal choice. But we certainly have found that, you know, that's our experience with the two. Yeah.
And I think it's what suits you. I mean, if anybody was here when I, you know, quite a while ago now, if anybody was here when I did the demo of the Elm Braille, I mean, that is my, you know, choice, is the Elm Braille. I really don't use the Polaris or the Braille Note Touch. I don't have one. The Polaris I use for work, and everything else is the Elm Braille. But that's me. You know, I know other people who are absolutely, they love the Braille Sense Polaris, and other people again love the Braille Note Touch, and I have to train everybody on each different machine, so you can imagine. But again, it's just it's what suits you. There's the key thing is, I think there's technology out there for everybody. It's just finding what suits you or your students or etc., and then, you know, getting the relevant training on that device.
Definitely. No, thank you. So yes, that's yeah, definitely, I agree. Good. Okay, guys. Well, we'll start to wrap things up, because I know that we're already over our allotted time. And apologies if we've not had much opportunity to sort of, you know, open things up to other areas of the system. But it seems like you know, all of you, the questions and all of the interest really have been about the Polaris, which is great. You know, that's why we're here today. But yeah, do bear that in mind for future sessions, that, you know, it is an opportunity for you to ask questions about any area of assistive tech. But it's great that there's been so many questions about the Polaris, and there's lots of thank yous coming in here already. Thanks from Tony and Andy, Manisha, and Nicola.
Pleasure.
Yeah, lots of thank yous. People that have had to drop out, obviously, because they've got other meetings and whatnot, which is also good. So yes, thank you, Stuart Beveridge, for your demonstration. That was great. As always, guys, if you've got any, you know, post-session questions, queries, comments, please get in touch. I'll be in touch later this afternoon with a sort of follow-up and information about our next session, which is another really exciting session. I talked about this at the start. I plugged it before we kicked off. But we've got a special guest in 2 weeks' time, on the 2nd of July, Brian Hartgen, who some of you may have heard of, some of you hardcore JAWS users or other software, AT software users may know Brian. Brian's been developing JAWS script-based products for 20 years, and he spent 17 years working in the voice input area. So prior to lockdown, he was still training clients at home or in the workplace, including individuals with a very severe degree of physical and sensory impairment. So the company that Brian established, Hartkin Consultancy, they develop a range of products to support both JAWS and Zoom text and offer online and on-site training services. So Brian's going to be joining us talking all things JAWS, all things dictation. So JAWS, Dragon, naturally speaking software, and JSay, which is the piece of software which allows JAWS and Dragon to talk to each other. So that's in 2 weeks' time on the 2nd, at the same time, 2nd of July, 10 a.m. But I'll send all that information out to you. But please do join us for that. We're really fortunate to have Brian give us his time to come and talk to us all. Good. So before I finish, I just want to say thank you again, and please do come and visit us in a couple of weeks. It's really, we've really been sort of humbled and excited by how much interest we've generated from these sessions. So it's great that we're all discussing our technology needs and how we can help and support each other. I think that's the key, especially in the lockdown period. Good. Lots of very interesting thanks, lots of thank yous and other nice comments. But
I don't know if I can quickly say, Sam, I don't know whether we're planning more of these, aren't we? Sorry, I interrupted you there.
No.
Sorry.
Good.
It's just when there's people here, if you do because a lot of these demos, I know they have been quite basic at the moment, but what we're trying to do is just give people an overview. And because these webinars have been so good, I mean, I think we maybe had only 20 odd the first time, didn't we, Sam? And now we were up at, I think the last one we were up at like into the 80s, weren't we? So if people want stuff demonstrated, topics demonstrated, let us know, because we're here to, be guided by you, and what you want, then we will try and provide. And quickly as well, if I just plug Brian Hartgen, I've attended a number of Brian Hartgen's courses over the last couple of years, and he is a fantastic presenter. He is absolutely brilliant, and I'm really interested to hear more about JSay in a couple of weeks' time, and I think everybody will really enjoy listening to him. So please, if you can, please do try and get along to it. It'll really be good.
Definitely. And that actually came out of a suggestion from one of our other webinars that we did Stuart ran a JAWS session about a month ago, I think it was now, and that suggestion came out of that. There was a lot of interest in dictation. How can you use dictation with JAWS? And we began to discuss Dragon, but the key there is how you make those two things talk to each other, because obviously using a screen reader and using some dictation software, the sort of vocal aspect, there's some clashing, and Brian will explain this in a much more articulate and technical way, but that is where JSay comes into it, which that's Brian's baby, and he's gonna discuss all things dictation, which is really exciting. Good. Great. All right, guys. Thank you to those that have hung on. Sorry we've run over, but really appreciate you being here. This is recorded. If you need the recorded content, let me know. We've got a little bit of a queue on our YouTube, what's going to be uploaded to YouTube and whatnot. So I'll try and get this on there as soon as possible, if you want to come back and look at it later. But yeah, all that's left to say is thanks again. We'll see you in a couple of weeks, and please do spread the word. The Assistive Tech Hub is open for business, and we're the more the merrier, basically. Any final words, Stuart?
No, just thank you very much again to everybody for coming along, and hope to see you again in 2 weeks' time. And thank you to you as well, Sam, as always as well, for helping me out with the demos and keeping things under control with the webinar there.
No problem. No, it's you did all the hard work this week, so you can have a rest now.
Hey.
I've got another session this afternoon with Stuart Lawler on the Braille. But yeah, thanks again, guys, and we'll be in touch. All right, take care. Thanks.